Good evening. I would like to call the March 8th board meeting to order. April, sorry. I'm looking at maybe the wrong note here. We do have 7 board members present. Board member Leslie Seeley is joining us online. And now I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
And that brings us to item 3A, program highlights, EHS Theater Department.
Cheryl's going to introduce our program tonight.
And her thespians come and talk about the importance of the program and all of their activities and experiences they've had and their accolades. So Ms. Ballard and students.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Amanda Ballard. I'm the theater director at Emporia High School. I'm a 23-year-old veteran teacher, and I've spent my entire teaching career in the Emporia School District. I was the theater director in 2003 to 2011 and stepped down to get my master's in 2011 in mental health counseling. However, I never lost my love for theater and for theater students, and after a 14-year hiatus, I stepped into the role 2 years ago when our current director stepped down to pursue other careers. I'm extremely delighted to be working in the area that I am truly passionate about and working with amazingly creative and dedicated students. And in fact, I have 2 with me today, so I'm going to let them talk and tell you a little bit about our program.
Hello, my name is Lexi Eubanks. I am a senior at the high school, and I am our troop's president. My main focus is designing hair and makeup for our shows, but I also do act, and I plan on attending ESU in the fall to pursue a BFA in theater.
Hello, my name is Maggie Anderson. I am the vice president of our troop, and I have done theater for 4 years. I am a senior, and for the fall semester, I plan on also going to Emporia State University to get a bachelor's degree in speech and theater education.
A Piece of My Heart is a show about the struggle of 6 veteran women who served in the Vietnam War. In the show, there are 3 nurses, a Red Cross girl, and a USO performer. The show goes through their experiences going into the war, their experiences while in Vietnam, and the trauma that they later had to overcome. We worked with local vets to learn more about the war and what the veterans experienced. We performed in September at EHS for 2 nights. We then submitted a video of our performance to Kansas Thespian Festival for the chance to perform for other thespians. We then got a message saying that we got in for the 2nd time in school history with the highest score. We then decided to try our luck with International Thespian Festival, and about a month ago, we got an email saying that we were one of 12 schools in the nation selected to perform. And this is the first time in school history, and if you couldn't see our show in September, we have a show on June 6th at 7 p.m. It is a benefit performance, and it is free will donation.
Yes. And in the fall, we performed Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Cinderella was our musical this year and saw over 100 students involved between the cast, crew, and the orchestra pits. We had sold-out performances with a great audience reviews, and our cast also traveled to local elementary schools, and we also had a matinee for our local 2nd graders, and we were able to give a Q&A and just kind of get to know them and let them know about all the process that it took to take on a musical. So it was a really good opportunity with the community. So, yes.
Also in the fall, we had Don't You Love Me, which is a show about a teen girl who gets into a relationship that seems healthy at first, but slowly turns toxic and eventually abusive. This production was meant to educate our audience about the red flags of teen dating violence and how to notice those red flags and support those who need help. We rehearsed for a month and performed in December. We then continued rehearsals for a few more weeks to perform at Kansas Thespian Festival, to compete with other one-acts to get the chance to place first, and then to go to International Thespian Festival. We unfortunately did not place, but we were still able to spread awareness to more teens while at festival. We then got back into rehearsals at the end of February for a week and then performed at the Granada Theater and raised $900 that we donated to SOS.
Okay, and we ended this year with a very energetic show within a show. It was a comedy about a murder mystery, which is so fun. I was the maid, Lexi was the little stage manager, and this was the first year the rights had been out, so we were able to perform for The Play That Goes Wrong, which is a fairly new show, so we were very excited. It was the first time Emporia High School had ever performed this, and so it was very well liked by audiences, and we raised over $3,000 in the minute to give it for students attending ITF, which is the International Thespian Festival, and so yeah.
We are currently having our senior-directed one-acts, and we have 3 seniors directing those one-acts, including me and Maggie. And we auditioned about a month ago and rehearsed 3 times a week. Our shows perform next Friday, the 17th at 7 p.m. We also have a children's one-act that I am directing for our advanced theater class. We are performing Alice in Wonderland to the elementary schools on April 29th and 30th.
Some facts about our troupe. We were first inducted as a troupe in 2004. We are Troop 6688, and we have inducted around 300 students in our troops. This year, we have produced 4 main stage shows and 2 one-acts, and we have accumulated over 100 students. Previously, we have received 18 regional nominations for the Jester Awards and 9 actual Jester nominations. We won 2 different categories and were able to perform a number from Legally Blondes. But this year, this is very recent, we received 8 regional nominations and 2 Jester nominations. And we find out what we get May 3rd.
And we have International Thespian Festival coming up, which is in Bloomington, Indiana. And last year we only took 12 students, but this year we have 12 students qualifying to take their Thespi, which is a solo competition where students can compete in acting, designing, and singing. And this year we have a total of 27 students attending ITF. I went to ITF last year and I got to attend many workshops where I was able to learn some tips and tricks for our theater department that I could bring back for our productions. And our theater board also met every day at noon to discuss our upcoming theater year, and it was a really great experience.
This gets to be my very first year in attending, so I'm very excited. As a future theater educator, I am very excited to be able to learn more and just more tips and tricks on what I'll need in my future classroom. And being able to perform a piece of my heart for our final senior show is really special, so I'm very excited.
If Ballard wants to talk about some of the fundraising.
We, as you know, I know I don't need to take up any more time, but we are very close to our goal. We're right on target to reach our $30,000. I received a $10,000 check today from the Hopkins Foundation, so hopefully that will be on the docket for next time. So thankful to them and everybody and all the community that has supported us. Thank you, Dr. McGehee and board, for donating half of our registration fee. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for these kids, and we're very, very thankful. It's my goal that we continue to raise the bar of excellence and achievement within the theater department. That is, and that we use theater as a vehicle to empower our students to explore the world in which they live and they learn. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do what I honestly love. I'm sorry, they make fun of me every time because I cry all the time. But I absolutely love this job, and I love these kids, and they are so dedicated and hardworking. So thank you so much for supporting them. We look forward to many more trips to ITF. We have a lot of special things planned for next year, so thank you for being in support of us and these kids and everything that they do. So thank you very much.
Hold on just a second. Leslie has a,
Oh, yes.
go ahead,
I'm
Leslie.
sorry. I'm just sorry I couldn't be there in person, but don't forget their second Saturday breakfast fundraiser at the American Legion this Saturday.
Yes.
Anybody can come, and it's like $7 and a great
Thank you.
way for them to raise money.
I totally forgot. Yes, we have several fundraisers coming up. The American Legion Breakfast, thank you, Leslie, for reminding me, this Saturday, 7:30 to 10:30. We also have a benefit performance June 6th. We also have a 627 event on April 19th. I will be flying to Indiana for a tech meeting that day, but please come and support those kids and all the fundraising that they're doing. They're working, they're hustling, they're busting their rears to try to get the money. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and we're all very impressed with the amazing work that the cast puts on every time. The next item is item 3B, public comments. Casey, do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay. And moving to the consent agenda. Items listed on the consent agenda are those for which the board has received information in advance and have been thoroughly reviewed. Approval of the items may be made by a single motion, second, and majority vote with no separate discussion of any item listed. Should a member of the board desire to discuss any item at the request, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately.
I move support of the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. That brings us to item 6A, carpet project at EHS and EMS.
All right, it looks like Josh and Corey are going to come up and share some information and answer any questions you might have about this next phase of carpeting.
Good evening. You go first. Okay. So 3 years in the making. First year, 2024, we did the hallways at the high school and middle school. Last year, we did most of the classrooms at the high school and middle school and the high school auditorium carpet. So this year, that leaves us with approximately 20 classrooms in the library at the high school, along with some miscellaneous closets and offices that weren't cleared out last year, and approximately 2 classrooms in the library at the middle school, as well as switching Mr. Metz's shop class from carpet to tile. It's almost impossible to get wood shavings out of the carpet, so instead of putting new carpet in, we're looking at doing tile there. Be easier to clean for everybody. To do it all, we're looking at the same company that we used the last 2 years. They're also the same company that we had do the bond at the high school and middle school, so they're very familiar. We've also managed to secure the same crew, so they're very familiar with our buildings, familiar with our work, so we've got high expectations that it'll be done efficiently and correctly, which they've done good the last 2 years. The contracts we looked at were through the Omnia Cooperative. That's outlined on the quotes. The Omnia did change. They used to go through the manufacturer. They now go through the installer, which is more in line with other cooperatives, how they do business. Still same protections and everything, just a different contract. So these say country carpet. If you look at last year's, it was like the, I think it's engineered flooring or something like that. So that's the only difference. If you see the differences there, it's the same manufacturer, it's the same installer, it's just different way the contracts are laid out to who they go to. For the high school, we're looking at $170,432.82. And that does include the difference last year. If you recall, we came to you with a number, and we came back to change that number to adjust. So those adjustments were made last year. This year, this is to finish it up. We also will be using approximately $88,000 worth of inventory that we have on hand. So that takes care of getting rid of that and not having to worry about it getting messed up or losing the value in the glue or anything. And the middle school came to $51,579.96. So that's what I've got. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
What questions do we have? Okay.
You might clarify how the district's paying for all this carpeting, where the money comes from?
This is getting paid for out of the capital outlay fund. There are some projects that we have lined out in future years with capital outlay, but this is one that we wanted to get accomplished this summer for sure.
If there are no questions, I would entertain a motion.
I just have a quick question. Do we anticipate, or do you sort of have a schedule of like the capital outlay projects for the summer as we just think about that budget?
Now, I might have Corey help a bit with this, but we have projects that'll be done in-house. We don't have any significantly large projects. This is probably the largest project.
This is by far the largest.
That we'll have for the summer. We are working on HVAC, but we're working with some companies to get that organized for this by the summer after. So, but big projects, this will be the only one we have for this summer.
Great, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah, we've kind of put that HVAC, I mean, we're dealing with HVAC as it comes, right? But we're really at a point where it's millions of dollars that need to be spent across the district on HVAC, upgrades, replacement. I mean, equipment ages out, right? And we've got some schools that have a lot of original equipment that were from 19, 20 years ago. But we want to make sure that if we're going to spend that significant amount of money, that we have an expert on board that helps us to determine exactly how it's best to utilize, how we get the most bang for our buck, and then structure that out and have them assist with kind of project managing that as it goes. So it's in a little bit of a delay, but certainly being worked on all the time.
There are a couple of projects that are smaller. I mean, compared to this, they're significantly smaller. Most of them are continuations from last summer that we didn't get to because, like the boilers, took too long to finish the garage doors. We already brought that to you, but we'll bring you back an updated number because that was a year ago. So there are some things, but they're nowhere near this scope. They're all significantly smaller than this.
I had a question on the Omnia Partners Cooperative. Is that through KESB, or is that something? Is that a separate?
It's its own entity. It's like TIPS or Greenbush.
Okay.
Would be their competitors. They all just do things a little bit differently, but it's its own entity.
Okay, and we've used them.
Yeah, we used them for the carpet the last 2 years, and we've used them for multiple other projects.
Sure. Okay.
I would like to make a motion to approve the replacement of the remaining carpet at Emporia Middle School and Emporia High School as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further comment? Hearing none, please cast your vote. All right, thank you.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
That's going to bring us to item 6B, updated school resource officer agreement with the Emporia Police Department.
Yeah, and if you'll recall, earlier in the year, we approved a version of our SRO agreement, and now Emporia Police Department's had their opportunity to kind of review what we put together and have some good suggestions to clean it up to be sure that it works well for both entities. Dr. Mickelson's here to share those changes.
Yeah, I'll go through some of them, and Captain Ray Mattis is here as well, just in case we have any questions for him. So on that first area, really on the scope and service of staffing, since this officer will truly be an Emporia Police Department officer, we wanted to make sure that the chief of police has that final determination. I will be involved in that piece as well as the district representative, but as far as that final determination, that will be on the chief of police. As we move over to number 5, the example here talked about a school fight, and if there's an altercation, any physical altercation, the SRO would need to be involved in that, and so we wanted to clean up that example of being a verbal altercation and not specifying that it wasn't going to be something physical. So that was the example there. Then down on number 6, we talked about the body-worn cameras and making sure that if there is an enforcement that an SRO has to be a part of, they would need to start recording that event. And so if it's not something that the SRO would have to be enforcing that his or her responsibilities, then no video would happen. But if they are to, then a video would start and have that recording. Now with that though, they would have to abide by all the laws and things to gain access to that video. But as far as recording, they'll make sure that they follow their practices and protocols for that. We did start having that conversation, and we landed on being able to use the National Association of School Resource Officers, called NASRO, for that program. And so I've already actually started looking into that, and we do have training as long as we can pinpoint a person for this role, that will be a training, and the training itself will include me as well as a part of the district representation of that. So I'll be included in that piece. And then that also on number 8, we could lift some of that out and put the National Association for School Resource Officer information in there, because they will get certified in all of those trainings that that group provides. Number 9 talks about scheduling and availability, and we had a fairly lengthy conversation just about if the SRO is unavailable, let's say for a family leave or, medical emergencies, that type of thing, we wouldn't necessarily have a backup that would be SRO fully trained. And so making sure that there was information in here that we would have someone there, but it may not be serving in that SRO responsibility. So they could make sure they have somebody there at arrival and dismissal. But as far as doing those SRO types of responsibilities, we may have to rely more on our security guards for those types of things. But just in having that language in there, just in case we have that. Now, hopefully we don't have to worry about any of that, but just having that in there for that instance. Trying to think. So the next page, EPD will provide that soft uniform, so they wanted to put that in there as well. And then as far as grants, just making sure that we work on those and we initiate those at the district level. They will work alongside us and support us in that. The police department will. But as far as seeking those out, really making sure that we have that responsibility, and then see how we can make that work if we are able to find any of those grants. And then the last piece, that annual report, the SRO will be in charge of that report itself, not the police department. So making sure that it's not on Chief Owens for him to provide that information. It's really on that SRO that's involved in that. As far as the appendix section goes, the very first piece, Appendix B, there is some information just that a school representative may be present for the interviews, because there might be a situation where it is a vital piece that something has to happen fairly quickly, and so just making sure that just in case there's a situation that happens, that we have that may language there. Then on C, they have, the EPD has their own guidelines for use of force that they need to abide by. I put the link in there, and that link will be an active link that takes you directly to their guideline, their use of force guidelines, but really making sure that they are following their chain of command and their policies and procedures. And then if there were an issue with that, then obviously there would be disciplinary action with the EPD, but then also we would have could have our own disciplinary action as an employee with us as well.
Erica, this is one area that I just had maybe a technical request. It says that the agreement may be updated by EPD as needed, or the link. Could we also just include language and that they will inform us when they do, if they do update it? Just because I'd hate for us to be operating on what we see here, but in a year they could make a change and we might not be aware of it. So,
yep.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the last update there is on just this specific information again about the body-worn cameras. So just making sure it's in both places. Any other questions or anything I can clarify?
I'd had a concern, but you've already addressed about what happens when the designated SRO is gone, but you've got the section in there and how that would be handled, because obviously they're not going to be there every day for various reasons. So, but you've taken care of it.
Okay,
so.
good.
I have a question about, I'm just not that familiar with police protocol and that sort of thing, so I'm wondering what the soft uniform actually looks like and what equipment will be carried by the SRO.
A soft uniform.
Rick, can you come up here?
Sure.
Sorry,
That's okay. Hey, I'm one tick away from hearing aids, so I understand. A soft uniform generally is a black polo with cargo pants and boots, and then they'll wear their duty belt. They'll have their bullet-resistant vest underneath their polo. So we don't wear the outer vest or anything like that. It would just be, everything would be concealable, but just a polo and pocket pants.
So will they be carrying their Glock and what?
Yeah, they'll carry their full duty belt.
I guess what's included in the full duty belt?
A full duty belt consists of their firearm, extra ammunition, handcuffs, a taser, either a baton and pepper spray or a combination. We have to carry 2 of the 3, baton, pepper spray, or taser. So it's up to the officer individually what of those 3 they want to carry.
Thank you. That clarifies. I was reading through the policy that you all follow, and I got a little confused when I got to that point.
Yeah, not
so
a
thank
problem.
you.
They have to all be trained on all that stuff and certified to pass certain trainings before they can carry anything. Anything else?
The only comment I would have is that we've been working with Larry Clay and Willie Turner for years, and they're former police officers. So while this is a change for us, I'm more comfortable now that, as I think about this and process this change, I just think about the experience we've had with those 2 former officers, and that's been a great experience for us. And we've appreciated having their experience as law enforcement officers and that relationship. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be the same thing, that's going to be a good collaboration between the Emporia Police Department and the Emporia Public Schools. So
It's already started as one, so hopefully it'll continue.
yeah.
One question I have, as we consider passing this tonight, I did offer a technical change, so do we need to take that back to EPD to see if they agree to it?
Sorry.
Sorry. Yep.
I could almost guarantee you that won't be a problem to have that minor adjustment. We do make policy adjustments as times change, so if we make a policy adjustment that's related to this, we'll be happy to inform you.
Great, thank you.
I will make a motion that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions and updates to the School Resource Officer Agreement between Emporia Public Schools and the Emporia Police Department, along with the amended change that any updates to the use of force policy, that the EPD be required to notify USD253 so that we're aware of those changes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, thank you very much. That's going to move us to item 7A, Winter 2026 Fast Bridge Data Dive.
Yeah, Dr. Cardula is going to come up and process a little bit of data with you, and hopefully you have a little bit of fun with it.
So we're going to focus in on the 4th grade tonight a little bit. Sorry. I'm going to run through the data protocol with you, kind of like what we do with our principals and what they did with their staff. So if you pull up that 4th grade sheet, that's kind of where we want to start. So now we're going to look at 4th grade A Math and A Reading and also the CBM. So what kind of data this is essentially A Math and A Reading measure skills in math and reading. In math, it may measure things like geometry, algebra, number sense, probability, stats, geometry. In A Reading, it'll cover things like phonics, PA, fluency, comprehension, things like that. And the CBM, basically what that does is that is a test that students will read, and the teacher listens, and then it scores how well they do on PA, phonics, and comprehension. So that's our data tonight that we're looking at. It's broken up on these charts by risk level. You'll see high risk, and you'll see some risk, low risk, and PR is what we call post-secondary ready. That's the highest level. So when we look at this data also, last time we met, you asked for a couple of additional subgroups. So we added free and reduced, and we added chronic absenteeism students. That data for chronic absenteeism students as of winter 25, that would include students up to about March 1st. So that data isn't quite the same as what you're seeing for winter of 26. I'm sorry, winter 25, because that would be the whole year, that year of the chronic absenteeism students. So you can kind of see that's what the data tells us and what we can do with it. Now, when we start getting into the data a little bit, looking for patterns, typically what we would do is we would look at those percentages. So when you look at the top chart on A Math, you'll see that 19. That 19 represents that 19% of those students who tested in fourth grade are scoring, have a percentile that puts them in a high-risk category. So what we want to see there is we would want to see from winter of 25 to winter of 26, we would like to see a drop there, which means we're doing better. And in that case, we do see a drop, which is what we want to look at. So we tend to go through and look at that data across. So if you go through and do some of that work, you can also see it happens again under Hispanic students, where you see it going from 25 to 19, which is good. And then also you'll see another place we look too is PR, under low risk. Under Hispanic students, you'll see that 41, that 29. So when we get down to low risk and PR, we want to see an increase. So in the winter 25, they were at 29%, and in winter of winter of 25, they were 29, and winter of 26, they were 41. So we increased in that area. So there's some of the patterns that we look at as we analyze this data. There's a lot of that. There's actually 8 times through this chart where that occurs, which is really good. So we're starting to see a lot of good growth through that. Some things that I want to point out to you that kind of links up to what we talked about last time. If you remember, we talked about our PSYOP implementation and what work we're doing with that. So if you look at and that is one subgroup that helps with is the EL subgroup, English Language Learners. And you can see in that subgroup that when we look at the high risk, in 25, they were 42, and in winter of 26, they went to 32. So they decreased that subgroup by 10%, which is good. And then if you look at the low risk, you'll see they go from 21 to 35. So you're seeing some growth there. And one reason for that growth could be our implementation of PSYOP across the district. So the Hispanic subgroup, we talked about that a little bit. You're seeing some good growth there. And the chronic absenteeism students, you'll see there that they've kind of, when we look at winter 25 versus winter 26, you'll see there's a big difference there. And as we get in, I mean, it's hard right now because when we go to the winter, we have the sicknesses happening and things like this. A lot of kids are absent because they're sick. So our chronic absenteeism rates tend to increase through the winter, but then as the spring comes on, they attend school more. So by the time they get into school, they may not be chronically absent any longer. So once we get to the end of school, we'll redo that. And I'm anticipating those drop, but you'll see there that there's quite a difference from winter of 25 to winter of 26. So then also students with disabilities, you'll see that they're our highest need group. And they're one of the pieces that as we think about our work we're doing with Centers Alignment and Kansas MTSS, those are included in those conversations to try to make sure that our students have access to the core and they're getting good quality instruction. So if you go down to A reading, you're going to see the same kind of patterns there. Like if you look at the all students under low risk, you'll see we increased that from 21 to 22, which is good. And then if you look over at the white students, you'll see there that for low risk, we were at 21 and we went up to 23. So we were seeing some good growth there. And that's that growth we're looking for. And we're looking for some increases in low risk and PR. And we're looking for decreases in high risk and some risk. And if you look at those in terms of A reading, we had that 6 times on these charts too. So we have some good growth there as well. And some things to point out there was like with A Math, students with disability is an area we need to focus on. And then chronic absenteeism is very similar to the same pattern we're seeing in A Math, we're seeing in A reading. And then our EL performance, you'll see there we dropped a little bit in some risk. We improved some risk. So again, that goes back to our PSYOP implementation and what we're doing with that. And then our Hispanic students showed some increase in the low risk as well. Then our last one we're going to look at will be our CPM, and that measures, that's where the teacher listens to the students read. So you'll see there that in this one, and this one is primarily a K-5 test that we give our kids. And when we think about those improvements, we're seeing 11 of those in this. So we're seeing some good improvement in our CBM from winter to winter. 11 times we have growth. And some key takeaways there, I really want to point out the EL population. If you look at our English language learners and high risk, in winter 25, there were 53, and we dropped that to 38. So that's a pattern that we're seeing in our data, not only at fourth grade, but across the district. We're seeing some good growth with our EL students, the supports they're getting. Again, chronic absenteeism, you'll see there what's happening with them, another pattern. The kids who are chronically absent don't tend to score as well as students who come to school. And then our Hispanic students are also showing some growth as well. So then that's kind of some patterns and some beliefs. You know, we talked about our beliefs. We believe that we need to work on our core and have a strong core in our data, and that's what we're doing. We talk about our actions, and we remember our key action plan that we talked about with standards alignment. So we need to strengthen our core and make sure our standards are aligned. So those are some things. If you look at our next steps here, our next steps would be to implement our keys to action plan and make sure that our standards alignment is working, our summer curriculum work. We're also doing some work with Kansas MTSS and math to improve our core instruction. And we're going to be doing some of that next year throughout work days for administrators and PLT days for teachers and staff. So we're excited about that. And then looking a little forward and more data analysis, which is a good thing. We can spend time talking about data. The next time you see data, we'll do some looking at our cohort data. So the data that you looked at tonight was just fourth grade, which means we're looking at our program and how effective our programs are. And are we seeing some change in our programs? Are students getting better? Are they scoring better at that grade level? When we start looking at cohort data, we'll start looking at our groups of kids improving as a whole from grade to grade to grade. And that will be kind of our next set of data we'll start looking at down the road. So that's kind of an overview of what we do and some of our data. There's a lot of good things in our data. We're seeing some good growth. I was fortunate. I got to go to the high school last Friday and spent some time with Mr. Fisher in the LA and math departments. And the conversations that our teachers are having around the standards and the performance level descriptors and what the standards mean, the expectations for the standards and learning about those things, and the impact that we're seeing from our standards alignment and our KESA plan, I think we're gonna see some good benefit of that as we move into this time next year. And we're seeing the same thing. I met with Mr. Kirk and talked to him a little bit about what he's seeing and the conversations that the teachers are having around the PLDs. Those are performance level descriptors and standards. And looking at the mini tests and analyzing what they're saying, what they're meaning, and talking about them. We're seeing some good conversation. We have a lot of good momentum, and our teachers are doing a great job embracing them. At first, they're pushed back a little bit, but I think as they dig into them and see the benefits of that work, I think we have some good momentum moving into this summer to make some good changes into next year. So that's really all I have in terms of data and our next steps. I'll entertain any questions you might have or any thoughts. I appreciate you letting me share some.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to see the improvements that we are attributing to the changes that we're making. Still, we're struggling with those chronically absent students. So can you tell me about what strategies that we're using to, because I feel like I hear this, and I know it's a kind of a national issue, but, what are some things that we're doing to try to combat that?
So I think there's two ways of looking at this. One, like elementaries, the chronic absenteeism really depends because the parents, you have to get them to school. Secondary level, kids have to get themselves to school. Really working to make school meaningful to students. At the high school level, doing a lot with CTE and things like that, and getting them into some things that will engage them, like the tech college, things like that will help. We need to have more conversation about this and what we need to do about our attendance. I've been watching a little bit, and I think our attendance is going to be a little better this year. We've improved slowly over the years, and I think this year will be a little better when we share that with you. But that's definitely a conversation we need to continue to have.
Might be good in the future to have Patricia come and talk a little bit about some of the things that she's doing now that she's taken that role and working on truancy and attendance issues.
Okay. I'll write that down.
What other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me present. Appreciate it.
That's going to bring us to item 7B, approval of class size capacity to guide transfer requests.
Dr. Haug is going to come up and share some information. This is an annual requirement that the board has to set our capacities across the district. So she will share with you a little bit about how we reached the numbers that we've reached.
Thank you. It was a little bit of an adventure to get this report prepared, being in the middle of cost containment and going through this. So Dr. Mickelson, I have to give a huge shout out to you for the staffing side of this. The document that was shared with you is based off of the cost containment numbers. Thank you, Casey. So when we look at this, the number of sections that are allocated for each of the sites are based off of the reductions that were approved within cost containment. The requirement is that this is presented to you and then posted to the website by May 1st. So there are things in here that aren't completely done yet. It's still kind of moving pieces, all of that. You'll notice one of them has 22 open spots. Of course, Dr. Mickelson is going to work with Ms. Leeds. They're going to continue to arrange this until it's appropriately adjusted so that the student sections do meet the student enrollment. The biggest thing I think to emphasize is that if there is an internal transfer, that May 20th date is really important. If you live in Emporia and are enrolled in Emporia and you want your students to go to a different a different school, May 20th is the date for, in essence, priority transfers. And if you don't do it by that date, then you're bumped to after out of district. So late July, and that just really does affect the potential of getting the school that you would like to. Knowing that there are decisions that you're going to be making in the future as well, we will have to really look at William Allen White and Riverside and what those transfers look like to those sites so that a year from now, depending on decisions that are made, of course, we're not in a position where we need more there, where we're not prepared for that. So being really cautious, being really careful and intentional with what decisions are made this year so that we are planning for 26, 27, but also for 27, 28. That's elementary. For middle school, how we did this, we looked at science sections, and again, it's this moment in time. We currently, Mr. Burns has 12 sections of science for 6th and 7th grade. He only has 10 available for 8th grade right now, based on staffing. So if that stays, that's what it stays. But if, again, staffing adjusts, it's gonna ebb and flow a little bit with that. So at this moment in time, we do not have out-of-district transfer space available within our middle school, okay? High school, was able to meet with Mr. Fisher, and very similar. With the high school, we based it off of English class, because once you get to science and as biology, there's too many choices. Same with math, whereas English is the one that's consistent, that students will be enrolled in. There is space available at our high school, but one thing that he really wanted to emphasize was this is our core classes. So when it comes to electives, it is not saying that 65 freshmen are going to be able to enroll and get every elective class that they want. There will be electives available, but it's not going to be every class available for every student who does enroll. So that's the big thing there. And those dates, again, May 20th for in-district, and that notification will hopefully, or will be out by May 30th, and then out of districts will start then in June with notification going before we go on the 4th of July holiday. So lots of moving pieces. The district administrators right now at the building level are going through and verifying good standing for students who are already transfers in our district to make sure that they are able to maintain the place that they already have within our schools. So lots going on behind the screen, but that's what I have. Any questions, anything I can answer?
I have a question. So when a student does transfer, and I think I'm right here, but once they're in that school, they can stay there for, like an elementary school, they can stay there for the remainder of their elementary years.
As long as they maintain good standing, and that is 90% attendance that they're attending, and as well as no expulsions, suspensions, no significant behaviors.
Okay.
So yes, as long as they're in good standing, yep, they're able to maintain their space.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
I've heard, excuse me, I've heard you say a couple of times "at this moment," and so I'm really perplexed by that, because I understand like the situation we're in, but we are also being asked to like pass this at this moment. So I think maybe I'm a little confused, like we're passing it, but it could change, so should we really pass it? But we have to pass it, and so can't this just be our numbers regardless of what happens?
No, because it can't be our numbers. We are required to pass it so that it could be posted to the website by May 1st. And the reason why I say at this moment is the student number evens have fluctuated since I prepared this board report. And so it's changing. It's continuing to evolve as we go. I don't know if Mr. Burns is going to stick with 2 8th grade science teachers just because right now that's where the resignations have fallen. I can't get into the staffing side of this. I can only talk about the enrollment and the number side of it. And I know that's kind of gray, but that's, yeah.
Another like there's an
Thank you.
example. An example here would be Logan Avenue's 5th grade. There are 2 sections this year. If there were only 22 students there next year, rather than take 22 transfer students, it could be the right choice to do to take one of those 5th grade teachers and put them somewhere where they're needed elsewhere in the school district to teach 5th grade, 3rd grade, whatever it might be. And so it's hard to, we may still have some movement of staff, which then would change capacities. We have one section there aren't 22 spots available. So I think we have to say, as as of our numbers, staffing and students that we know on April 8th, this is our recommendation.
Yes, and also I just wonder, why can't we put 0? Because if we have an anticipated enrollment of 22, why say it could potentially be 44 if we want to have flexibility? Because we could just say 0 and have our total student capacity for transfer be 22 also. Like, it's kind of our document, so don't we have flexibility to put in here what works for us, given?
I think we would have the rationale to, if we were questioned about why you put 0 there by the state or whomever, we would have good rationale for why we did it.
Yeah, I think that's my point. Like, can't we just do that and prepare for, so that way we don't get this big influx of going to Logan, I mean, so I guess I'm a little confused why, we're going to approve this and it could change when I feel like with this document, just based on how we've worked on it in the previous years, they're kind of our numbers and we have to report them. So we have some flexibility unless I'm mistaken from previous years.
Yeah, the other thing that I would want to make sure and point out is that we would literally, like anywhere it says Riverside has room for transfers, we would likely not accept any transfers to Riverside or any transfers to William Allen White if the board were to vote on April 22nd that we're going to be closing Logan Avenue in 27-28, because we wouldn't want to approve a bunch of transfers to the 2 schools where these students may be redistributed and then not have room for all the planning that we've done to ensure that we do have room for those students to land in appropriately sized classrooms.
Would it not be possible to create like 2 scenarios of this document? One that we could, and like have them sort of like, I don't know, the correct parliamentary procedure, table them, tentatively approve them until the 22nd, and then there's 2 options that are ready to go that day. I also don't know that much about how websites work, and if waiting until the 22nd is enough time to publish by the 1st or not. It seems like that might be the best strategy, to Jamie's point.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have to double check with Lindell quick. Yes,
Yeah,
that would be an
I
option.
think that's a great idea. We could maybe just revisit this on April 22nd, and then we'll have those 2 options like Lillian suggested. Sure.
Yeah, and I don't really know that I have a problem with this one, but I do think that it's prudent to be prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I
Any
just-
other questions?
I still think there could be some question on April 22nd, where that fifth grade teacher might land. So the numbers might still end up different than the document.
Well, right, but right now this says that we would take transfers to Riverside. And we know if we decide to close the school, that would actually be zero ultimately. So why wouldn't we approve that after we know what we're planning to do with this, a potential school closure?
And that would give families time to make that decision before that May 30th deadline too.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Did you say that the state requires this to be published?
It's a policy that it has to be
It's one of our
published on the
policies,
website.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, getting up to speed here.
Thank you.
Is it state?
It's state.
State, yeah, that's what I thought, okay. And then the second thing, this is constantly a fluid document, correct?
Yeah,
Or-
when I went to
mean, I guess,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I guess I just don't really understand the purpose behind it if it's constantly being fluid.
Because our enrollment changes constantly. I mean, we may have had 2 second graders move to a different district today, so that number would technically be down. We may have, enrollment upstairs may have enrolled 3 new students across the district today. So it is always changing. Enrollment is just naturally a fluid thing that isn't going to stay the same from the moment that document was prepared until May 1st when it's required on the website.
Because it's fluid now, but once we publish it, it is no longer fluid. Like, this is, my understanding is, once we publish it,
They're the claimed numbers.
we are saying we could take 22 transfers to fifth grade at Logan Elementary.
Yes.
And just to make sure I'm following, we're obligated to take 22 transfers to that school. Is that what that means? Like, we can't not grant them? Okay, right,
Once it's published, yep.
right, understood.
Yeah.
And I think that's my concern about
Yes.
potentially passing it, is I don't want us to get locked in when it could be zero and, potentially.
But we also don't have the option to just put 0 everywhere and then figure out what happened. So, I mean, I understand where everyone's coming from. I just, I imagine every district across the state has staffing shifts from here to there to try to accommodate their enrollment over the course of the spring and summer as you get students enrolled. But we can certainly accept the board tabling this evening and coming back with something that you might be more comfortable with on the 22nd.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we'll get all the way there.
No, I think I'm less concerned about staffing shifts and more concerned that we might be closing a school, and so we may be putting zeros at Riverside and William Allen White. So that's more of a known than a staffing shift, which we would know
Okay.
on April 22nd.
So create a document that would address either issue, whether the school stays open, one document, if the school were subject to close in 27, 28, how we would approach it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree, because I think in any given school year, you could always move teachers to a different grade level or theoretically to a different building, no matter what. So I can make a motion if we're ready. I move to table the recommended class size capacities to guide transfer requests until the April 22nd meeting.
I would second that.
Do we need a motion to table? Or no?
We typically do, I think.
Do we?
Since it's an action item.
Yeah, I think arguably you move to table it, you take an action, and therefore it has to be on the next
Okay.
agenda.
Just want to check. So it's been moved and seconded. Casey, do you want to hand vote?
No.
Oh, okay.
Coming at you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's going to bring us to
Hold
item.
on just a second.
Okay,
Still
sorry.
waiting on a vote. Motion passes 7-0.
Sorry about that. That's going to bring us to item 8A, board reports.
That's me, right? I think I'm the only one. Yeah, the Recreation Commission met on the 23rd of March. My report is not fairly big. It was not a particularly long meeting. We did regular business. We had some update from the steering committee about how that's still kind of in flux as to what date might be picked for the actual ballot question. And then we looked at some rates for an elevator contract. It was pretty riveting stuff because, you have to pay to maintain your elevators. And then we did pass an AI usage policy, which is pretty, I think, much what you would expect. Keep all personal identifying information out of it and, use it to supplement your work, not to be the decision maker. And so that was pretty much it for us.
I do have a quick report from the Wellness Committee as well.
Yeah.
The program for this year for our staff, the deadline is April 30th. The incentives will be, for the bronze and silver, will be distributed during this school year. And also, the personal wellness day must be used during this school year as well.
Okay, thank you very much. That's going to bring us to item 8B, board policy update, second reading.
Dr. Mickelson will come up and run you through the policies.
We don't have any changes from last time. So were there any questions about any of them that were on there that I need to go over again, or?
I just had a brief question. It's about the addition to policy BCBK, which is hard for me to read because I want to say Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas.
Yes, exactly.
And it says, unless the recording of an executive session is required by law, if a person does record it when they're not supposed to, that will move to press criminal charges against that person. Just kind of a, friendly reminder, we don't actually decide if the charges get pressed. We can just advocate for it. It's actually going to be your prosecutor that decides whether to do that or not, or your policeman to arrest. But is there actually any, I can't recall off the top of my head, it never came up when I did criminal law. Is there a statute that would make that a crime to record an executive session for a public entity?
That is a good question. I am not sure. Casey, do you?
I don't know for sure, but I can look into it.
Okay.
I can look into it too.
Yeah.
I was just, that kind of
Yeah.
came up all of a sudden to me here.
Yeah.
But no other questions here.
Okay.
I just had a question. I would like to submit that we not accept the change to BG memberships. At our last meeting, several of us had flagged that we didn't think that we should just limit our membership to the Kansas Association of School Boards, despite the fact that they have been really good to us. But I think we should maintain and other educational associations.
So keep the current one?
That would be my recommendation, but I don't know if we just take that out from a separate vote or how we would do that.
I think we would just move to pass it with that amendment that revision be rejected on track changes.
Okay. Leslie's not here, and this is her favorite motion
I'll
to do,
do it.
so you get to do
Actually, I
it.
have one question.
Oh,
I'm
Jeremy.
sorry, I hopped in. I do have one question. So when I was looking at the IKB, the controversial issues policy, it really kind of shrunk it, I guess.
Yes.
It seemed to be a bit more specific there, and it just sort of truncated it. And I know, of course, we can wordsmith and make something say the same thing as opposed to a long thing that says the same thing. But is there anything about that may have driven that caused that type of revision?
I am not exactly sure because, like you said, it's pretty much saying the same thing, just in a different way. It went from a very lengthy policy to, one sentence? I mean, it's not very long on there.
I can give the reasoning from KASB if you'd like. It says, this fall, we noticed an uptick in district personnel matters springing from personal commentary by certified staff members in the classroom setting. This revision is meant to reinforce that expectation that while we can be acceptable to cease the opportunity for teachable moments through student engagement on controversial issues, it is not appropriate for teachers to use those moments to express their personal viewpoints in such a way that would be violative of board policy or state law on a political activity, if that helps at all.
Yeah, it does. It just seems like there might have been something more there. You know, it just feels like there might have been something more there because, yeah, spider sense.
Yep.
Okay, this is an action item. I would entertain a motion.
I move to retire board policies BCBK. No, the wrong way.
You're fine, you can just take that part out if you want. You can just take the BG out
Yeah.
if you want. Mhm.
Okay. I move to retire board policies BCBK, IHF, IKB, IKCA, IKD, IKDA, JBCC, JCAC, JQI, and GACC, and to approve the updated policies BCBK, IHF, IKB, IKCA, IKD, IKDA, JBCC, JCAC, JQI, and GACC as submitted.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Nicely done, Lillian.
Yeah.
Leslie says, great job on the phone.
That's going to bring us to item 9A, sale of Kansas Avenue building.
Yeah, I'll take this one. If you'll recall, we had a contract for Kansas Avenue for the amount of $80,000 in place for a while. It was pending on a lot of contingencies with regard to other resources and funding. That buyer had withdrawn the offer a couple of months ago after not receiving funding through the last cycle of the RHID, I believe it was. And so we received another offer late last week. That offer is for actually a little bit more, $85,000. Just $1,000 of earnest money, but it's a conventional loan, pre-approved conventional loan with a very quick turnaround on closing date. And Matthew Johnson is here, our representative. He could answer any questions about this particular offer, but from an administrative standpoint, I would recommend us entertaining selling Kansas Avenue to this buyer.
What questions does the board have? Or Matt, is there anything you would like to share?
That pretty much covers it. Little less work that I have to do.
Yeah, I had a question. So this is a person, it looks like they're buying the property for personal use. Do they intend to demolish, build a new home? I'm kind of curious if you have authority to share any of what they intend to do with the property.
The only thing that the buyer agent shared was that the buyer intends to utilize this the way that is properly zoned, whether that is going to be single family or multifamily.
Okay.
It'd save us a lot of mowing.
Well, I will make a motion to accept the offer from Marviette L. DeHoney to purchase the Kansas Avenue School for $85,000 as submitted.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further comments? Okay, hearing none, please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's going to bring us to item 9B, superintendent report.
Yeah, a few items. I don't have a super thorough legislative report, but wanted to at least reference kind of what's happening right now. If you don't know, I think most of the folks sitting at the dais know, legislature's been on a quick break after first adjournment. They will actually return tomorrow for a 2 to 3 day veto session. The governor's been busy signing bills, vetoing bills, a flurry of activity in the governor's office. It's interesting because, you know, the legislature has to actually forward the bills to her, and then there are so many days, and so if they don't get them forwarded to her by a certain point, she can veto them, and then there's no chance to override. There's just all kinds of manipulation going on when it comes to politics and Topeka, but it's not just Topeka, it's politics in general, right? They find ways to get things done or to not get things done, depending on what benefits whom. So a lot of activity there. I'm not going to go into any specific bills this evening, but we'll continue to try to provide you more updates as that veto session rumbles through. We have been busy trying to deal with House Bill 2299, the cell phone bill. I didn't want you to think that we, you know, just because we haven't come to you with any policy suggestions that we're not working on it. Talked to a senator and a representative today who both said, yeah, we probably shouldn't have been so prescriptive in that bill, should we? Because right now the big debate is, you know, a lot of the districts that have tried to eliminate cell phones in Kansas and in other states as well have used various pouches. I'll just use Yonder as one of the brands of pouches that you can lock a cell phone in at the beginning of the day, and then the student can easily run it over a magnet, you know, and get their cell phone out at the end of the day, and they kind of keep track of their own pouch. But based on some of the language in the bill about the electronic devices having to be, you know, locked away, securely stored, and inaccessible, there's some question as to whether those pouches would be an acceptable solution. We did get some information this week that the administrative groups, USA Kansas, involved in some conversations with legislators about creating some sort of a formal agreement that would at least, we could all be rest assured that if that's the approach we take, we're not going to have the Attorney General on our back for some reason, that we're not following the letter of the law, and then potentially come back next session and try to make it a little less prescriptive so that districts can have some leeway on how they're actually implementing. I would argue that they should go all the way back to just saying there shouldn't be cell phones in school, and then let school districts determine exactly how they're going to do it, and maybe we could even teach some personal accountability along the way rather than having to take something and lock it away. Cheryl has been doing a great job of leading the district's efforts in evaluating various companies' solutions. Again, kind of focusing on this pouch, locked away pouch piece. But you have to realize that we have some situations just that maybe are unique to our district and some others, like our open lunch, for example. That's a part of the school day. That's a part of the bell-to-bell school day. And so if a high school student brought a phone into the school, we locked it into the pouch, it doesn't get out, the magnets are taken away and not put back out to unlock the pouch until they're either checked out of school for some purpose or the end of the school day. So they could literally go get in their car, be in an accident or something over the lunch period and not have their phone available, but it's there, but locked in a pouch. Maybe that will encourage students to just leave them in their car locked during the day so that they do have access to it, and we may see a lot more students leaving campus, you know, for lunch. That wouldn't be a horrible solution for us as far as locking phones away. We just assume them not bring the phones to school at all, or bring them in the school. That would be the best solution for us. You know, these pouches are going to be $60,000 to $90,000 every three to 5 years. If we have to provide, you know, anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 of them. And I don't think that this will necessarily be dealt with exactly the same way, secondary versus elementary. We're going to have to evaluate, you know, the elementary use and students bringing phones, because a lot of those students, their families aren't even letting them have a phone yet. And so hopefully that would keep our costs down some too. But we're trying to work through all of that and address the letter of the law to the best we can. But even though KASB did come out with a policy at 5:30 this evening for boards to consider, all the advice we're getting is not to rush to approve a policy. Let some of these conversations and dialogues settle out first, and then work within an environment that's more known as we start to address it in policy. So you'll see more on that coming down the pipe. Amateur radio on the International Space Station. Tegan left the room. I was going to say, Tegan, wasn't it cool? Because I saw him get goosebumps in the room, today too. I really think probably there wasn't anybody in the room where the students are there and the adults are there and you're all anticipating this amateur radio connection to get to the right spot and track something traveling 2,500 miles per hour through space, for a 10-minute period. Tegan, you tell me, did you get goosebumps and kind of tears well through your eyes too when it kind of actually connected? I'm not a very emotional person. Yeah, I know. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Just waiting when the first connection came through, seeing the kids' faces light up, like, oh my God, it's happening. It was really amazing. So we just appreciate ESU, all the students and their work, Mrs. Slupianek, got it? And Ms. Albertson, were our teachers involved. USD251 and 252 were also involved. But a lot of planning, the Emporia, Amateur Radio Society involved. It took a lot of people, a lot of time, and there was a lot of learning leading up to today about amateur radio and about space in the schools and in the classrooms as well. So really cool thing, and I thought the astronaut did an amazing job of really answering the questions, but answering them in a brief way with some humor and personal added to it that let as many students as possible ask as many questions as possible. So super event. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn, but I post rarely on LinkedIn, but I had to get something out there on LinkedIn about this particular event. I put my little video out there. So sorry, Lindell, if I stole the thunder on the video. I know I sent it to you to put other places, but I thought some of the folks that know me might like to know that I had one of the best 10 minutes of my year today, and wanted to tell some people about it. Kansas Master Teacher Recognition, Emporia High School math teacher in 2026. Emporia Kansas Master Teacher Kathleen Gilliland was celebrated at the Kansas Master Teacher Awards banquet last week. I apologize for not being there. I was out of town at another obligation, but 7 former Emporia Public Schools master teachers joined Ms. Gilliland in this celebration. I won't run them all off, and I won't announce the years here out loud, although they're on there, but I did want to mention that our very own Board of Education member, Barbara Fowler, was one of those former master teachers that was there to help celebrate, so appreciate you doing that. Emporia High School designation as an all-star high school. We learned about this week too. Congratulations to Emporia High School. Each year, the Kansas Board of Regents recognizes high schools across the state for their efforts to support students' post-high school success. And selected schools are those that have actively guide students through college applications, through their FAFSA completions, and then celebrate career choices. Hold events, just a focus on helping students, get to their postgraduate paths and careers, whether it be college or some other pathway. And so Emporia High School is one of 219 schools receiving this award in 2026. So super proud of that. And then finally, capturing kids' hearts. We talked a lot about capturing kids' hearts and cost containment, right? And our $118,000 contract with them and so on. I am happy to say that Ms. Leeds has been working with Capturing Kids' Hearts. We've been able to find an opportunity to utilize about $22,000 of our title funds, which we've used for this program in the past, and then Capturing Kids' Hearts giving us a $10,500 grant so that we'll still be able to access the Capturing Kids' Hearts curriculum and resources. We just won't be doing all of the things that we did with them in the past with regard to jumping on the phone once a month or, traveling and holding their hand around the schools so that they can tell us how well we're doing. We feel like we've got a pretty good handle on Capturing Kids' Hearts and that we can make sure that it's happening with fidelity across our district. But today's exciting news is that we were notified that we are a district national showcase school district for capturing kids' hearts, and then all of our elementary schools and Jones Early Childhood Development Center all received campus awards for being showcase capturing kids' hearts schools. And so super, super proud of them. I put a little bit about capturing kids' hearts there, but just making, you know, our staff does a great job of engaging with kids. If you're ever at a, and I know you have been at a school when the kids are coming in, the principals and teachers are do a great job of making sure those students feel welcome and engaged. They're you know, communicating with care, being passionate about the content. So it's the whole Excel teaching model. I won't try to teach you here all about capturing kids' hearts. You can read about it in there, but anytime I go out to a school, I can see it happening in the schools. You can witness this and see it. It's a very good program, and I'm glad that we've found a way to continue to provide those resources. But mostly just wanted to congratulate all of our folks for really implementing with fidelity and receiving those National Showcase Awards for the campus and the district.
Thank you for that update. And again, all the hard work and engagement with our students. That's going to bring us to item 10A, future board calendar dates. Our next meeting will be April 15th, which will be next week, which will be a special board meeting here at Mary Herbert, starting at 6 p.m. Then we will have our regular board meeting on April 22nd, and we will have staff recognition on April 29th as well at W.L. White Auditorium. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. Please cast your vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.